girl feet.
Look like you was walking around porn sets all day. Got them trailer park toes. Jesus!
Scary Movie 6, The Return of the Wayans, and we're finally back. It feels like we're in the noughties again, Tommy. There's another scary movie film. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe that we are actually discussing a new scary movie in 2026. It is what we were expecting, I think, more or less. It's, a bunch of references loosely strung together, some funnier than others, no real plot or reasons for characters to do anything, but it is occasionally funny. It did occasionally make me chuckle.
Okay.
And I think I caught an afternoon screening in between work calls because it was the only slot I had to be able to make this recording in time. So I went there after lunch, completely sober, by myself. So I couldn't really enjoy the film to its fullest, to like the way it was supposed to be enjoyed, like with friends and maybe a little bit high. So you know what I mean. It's I think the cinema experience is part of what would make this movie better or worse in your mind. And my cinema experience was a bit meh.
I watched this not sober, and I also didn't enjoy it.
Okay, there you go. Then we have the two sides.
Oh man, I mean, you said initially we knew what to expect, and it kind of was that. And I was, we just putting out our Scary Movie 5 review, and at the end of that, we were talking about where we think 6 will sort of fall within our final rankings of the franchise. And we both kind of thought it would fall between, 5 was our least favorite, and then it was kind of between us, it was 2 and 4, that were the next. But it was a large gap in between those two, and we both kind of thought this one would sit somewhere between there, and it does.
Okay,
but it's a lot closer to 5 than 4 for me. This was it got a couple little chuckles out of me here and there, but we really broke down the formula of what works in Scary Movie, and this one really sort of goes with 5's formula rather than the quality of 1 and 3 of what they were doing. It relies on a lot of celebrity cameos for jokes, and that's the jokes themselves. It spoofs a lot of non-horror movies. This one, I was honestly actually shocked at how bad this was.
Okay, I have a list of stuff that is I decided to call shit that made me laugh, which is, I think, in chronological order.
Yeah.
So I think we should just use this as a kind of like template to discuss the progression of this film, because you can't really call it a story or anything. It's more than any other scary movie. This is just a loose sequence, of stuff happening.
But you're right, though. There is a slight progression, because it does the best stuff is right at the end, and it kind of it starts to feel a little bit more like a scary movie film in the final act.
All right.
Yeah, I've also got sort of my list of favorite jokes, but we should start with the cold open, right?
One of the worst ones.
Oh, easily,
so far.
easily. It's honestly hard to pick. I think I give Scary Movie 5's cold open more credit because it's actually parodying Paranormal Activity. It's it's doing the genre, whereas this is just a straight up Paul Thomas Anderson's film.
You think it's a reference to One Battle After Another?
I assume so, because
no, it's just Diana Taylor is there, and
she's doing the whole pussy. She's doing the pussy popping thing, so she's referencing her character several times, and she does the whole Oscars thing.
Google is telling me that the cold opening Scary Movie is a direct parody of the opening scene of the 2023 slasher film Scream 6.
Right, okay.
Where Samara Weaving's character is lured on a date in New York City and killed by Ghostface. So it's literally just like, let's swap Samara Weaving with Diana Taylor's and make a bunch of racially charged jokes about the fact that, she's not going to be murdered like any other white girl would. And I think that's the joke. And she's referencing One Battle After Another just because it's her, for no reason other than that she was in the movie. I did like one thing about this cold open, and it is when Ghostface gets beaten up by the crowd of New Yorkers.
I hated that.
No, not the scene, like not the fact that he gets beaten up that way, but like just the prop humor of his mask being fucked up.
Oh,
at the end.
yes, okay, I'm with you.
That was funny.
I'm with you.
I thought.
Yeah, that's good. Whenever they sort of change his mask in those like really expressive different faces, it's always good. But yeah, this one breaks the trend of all cold opens, because I'm pretty certain in all cold opens, the protagonist of the cold open, they get killed by the
Gets
antagonist.
murdered. Yeah,
right?
it's a subversion, man. Don't you get it?
But then it doesn't work, because then in the very next scene, like Ghostface is also being beaten up again by like another character. Ghostface gets beaten up throughout this whole film. And like, I get it. It's a comedy. It's silly. It's goofy. But you, like the other Scary Movie films did somewhat like care a little bit about the stakes. Like you have Ghostface killing a character at the beginning, and at least it sets up them as some sort of danger or threat to the rest of the characters throughout the film.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily
It's very loose. It's very loose for me. But yeah, for me, this is potentially the worst cold open of the whole series.
I mean, nothing can beat the awfulness of 5 for me, honestly. But it's actually, it's 2 cold opens that we have, because when we cut to black and we have the horror movie like screen with the title, then we cut to Tuesday, legally distinct character from Wednesday Addams.
They loved this joke as well, didn't they?
Whose only reason to be called Tuesday is to reference Wednesday and have her in pigtails or whatever they're called. I don't understand. Like that's the only thing. Like they try to explain that she was called that by her mother, who was a drunk. The Tuesday is watching this horror movie, and she makes a comment that made me realize that was like my first alarm bell, as in I realized that this was going to be very meta and very self-referential, which can work for a scary movie. They're gonna comment on previous movies and 2000 cultures, and comparing to what the culture is now. But yeah, Tuesday is stabbed by Ghostface, but Ghostface fails again because he doesn't murder her. She ends up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to the main character. I'm doing air quotes with my hands right now. Who's Cindy's other daughter, Anna Faris's other daughter.
And she's doing a crazy just impression of a younger Cindy.
She's pretty good.
She is good.
I am happy. Yeah, I'm happy that I watched this in the original version, because I don't think the dubbed version would have given this performance justice, in the sense that she's really close to Anna Faris.
She does do it well. It's very grating. More grating than when it was Cindy being like her like screeching voice. Yeah.
This is crazy.
But they kind of like the setup here is where I think the film could have had some potential, in where it's parodying the Scream reboot and Halloween reboot, right? You have the Halloween reboot, you have and Cindy is kind of doing like she's playing a parody of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, who's become a recluse, hiding from Michael Myers, and she's her family's estranged from her, and she's become this kind of like doomsday prepper type. Like that's a good. There's some wealth of comedy you could use there, and great. And they did do that, but they didn't sort of go into that enough. And then again with the Scream reboot, having these new characters come to replace the legacy characters, like that's you could do a lot of funny stuff with that. And again, they
just do it at the end.
They only touch on it right at the very end, and it's like, yeah, this is your ideas. I see the ideas here, and like there's potential in the parody here. But it's just so surface level for most of the film.
Yeah, but another thing that made me laugh, that it's in this scene, the introduction of Cindy's daughter and the love interest, is that basically they're introduced as they're working in this Luna Park place, and while they're talking like on the phone and then to each other, a bunch of people are dying in the background. Like there's all these incidents inside the Luna Park, like the Ferris wheel falls off, and like these people are flown into space. And I found that funny for some reason.
It was a Final Destination 3 and a Final Destination Bloodlines, which I think is like 5 or 6 reference, because they do the theme park is from 3, and then they do the boy finding the penny, which was from Bloodlines. So I was like, oh, you're kind of mixing your references there, but I get it. Final Destination.
Yeah.
Her character was quite funny at the beginning. Like, I like that, you know, obviously her mum being Cindy, she's nuts, and if you're following sort of like the through line of the franchise, she's been through all this crazy shit, so it makes sense that she's like got all this like trauma, and it's passed down to her kid, and her kid's now just like banging pills, and she's constantly like smashing vodka, and you know, and she's like, oh, I just had all these boner pills as well, and she like the camera pans down, she got this big erection. I was like, yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Oh, that's Scary Movie.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally Scary Movie humor. Just the fact that all the scenes are disconnected from each other really becomes grating, because you introduce Doofy. He does the classic refusal of the call. No, I'm not gonna help you. I'm not that guy anymore. But then next scene, he comes up like, he's driving his
I can't believe you're
unicycle with-
applying like narrative theory to this film.
Yeah, Doofy doing the refusal of the call, just like Luke Skywalker did back in the day. Yeah, no, it's just annoying, and they're not even that funny. Like Gail Hailstorm comes back, and she's still, being a reporter. But now, I thought they were gonna do something with this, because she's introduced, she's still a reporter, but there's all these like OnlyFans reporters, like in bikinis and whatnot, and she thinks she can't compete with them necessarily because they get all the views.
I thought this was one of the, if you're like taking this as like Gale Hailstorm's arc, this was probably one of the stronger elements of the film. And you're right, if they should have made it a bit more cohesive within the narrative, so it felt, so you didn't have a massive like half an hour break between the two scenes. But I liked, that's a good OnlyFans reporters, her like worried about her looks and she's jealous of the young people, and then working that into a substance parody. I thought that was perfect.
Stuff.
And they made it look good. Like it looked like
it looks
the actual,
perfect.
Yeah, the parody sequence,
the props
looked good.
And everything, and like the Ghostface comes in and kills everyone, and then we do the substance sequence, the classic. They also reference Demi Moore not getting an Oscar for the substance somewhere in the movie. I don't remember when.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious because it's when Wednesday's like, or Tuesday
screaming,
Tuesday screaming. It's like, don't worry about it, Tuesday. You're not going to get an Oscar. It's a horror film. And it's like, this isn't even a horror film. It's barely a comedy. Like, how dare you?
But yeah, the ending of the substance parody is really funny because we get the classic scene, the clone kind of like stumbling in the room, and like the fogged up mirror. She goes against it and wipes it out, and we see that it's one of the white chicks from White Chicks, and then she gets promptly murdered by Ghostface, because they're never gonna do a White Chicks 2, unfortunately for us. So we have a reference to It Follows right around here in the movie.
That got a little chuckle out of me. And because I was looking around, because everyone in the cinema was so young in my cinema, I was just looking around. I was like, none of you motherfuckers have seen this movie. It is fantastic.
And they knew that. Yeah. It Follows. I love It Follows. So like, they do the reference to the movie, and they say that they won't bother showing the flashback or whatever because the film is too obscure and people are not gonna get it. And so first of all, I as I said, I like It Follows. So I was like that Captain America meme, I understood that reference.
Yeah.
But also because it taps into what we were saying about a scary movie being made now, and how the change in the culture, the death of the monoculture means that a lot of stuff is not universal anymore.
Yeah.
So you can't just reference The Exorcist and everyone is going to get it. You need to reference It Follows, and only a few people are going to get it, and they're going to be happy that their favorite horror movie has been referenced. But you can't spend too much money on the parody itself.
There's another couple gags that I enjoyed that got like a little chuckle out of me, and again, it's like similar to the substance one. It's using the parody well, like, and it's very, very short, this one. They go to a house party. Yes, the weapons one. I thought that was quite
I
good.
loved it. Yeah, that's good.
Because they go to a house party and Shorty brings all his like weed cakes or whatever, and he's drugged all like the kids' punch, and so all the kids are like gonna get high, and then we just cut to like them doing the slow motion like Naruto kind of run out the door. But what my favorite bit about it was, and it was like they did it. It was what we mentioned it in Scary Movie 1. It's that terrible ADR over the top, and I love it because the camera is like in mid shot on the kids. Their mouth's not
You
even
can
open.
see that they're not talking. Yeah,
They're not even talking, and it'll be like, "I'm high as a motherfucker," as they're running along the street.
I'm not on that Naruto shit.
Yeah. There was another gag, and this got like the largest reaction in my cinema, and it was like not super funny but shocking in what it did. And it's like, you know, they're similar when they're at the house party. Shorty's explaining to his nephew about how to eat out a girl, right? And he's explaining about it, how he rolls a blunt. And so then he goes up and he's like getting with this girl, and he's doing the method that Shorty taught him. And then they cut back to like a close up of the girl's vagina. And it looks like a rolled up blunt, but it's like made out of vagina lips. And it was like, it looked practical. I don't know whether it was. And I was like,
that was a real vagina, man. They got her for that.
That was a real vagina. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's very Scary Movie, like classic, you know, like
it reminded me
cut
of
to something shocking, like, you know, the teacher,
first...
the teacher with the nutsack, or the cop with the small dick, like that hard cut to like just full frontal nudity. That's shocking.
By the way, talking about the cop with the small dick, nothing made me feel old, like realizing that the actor playing the sheriff, the transgender kid's father, was the jock character from the first movie. I'm like, who's this? Who's this grandpa? Cindy's boyfriend as well, for a brief scene in the asylum.
Yeah, Bobby's back in it. The smile reference was again featured quite a bit in the trailer, and this absolutely went nowhere. I didn't even have a gag. Like, what was the gag in this bit?
Yeah, this is the asylum. Everyone smiles, and that's it. Like,
that's the gag.
She just leaves. Yeah,
and that she hits him with a bedpan with piss in it, and she's like, "Ooh, yucky." It's like, okay, this is really poor. I suppose we spoke about like the stuff we enjoyed. I've got a few notes of the stuff that I really, really didn't like in this film, and that really sullied the overall sort of feel of it. Before we get to the end, because the end probably has where most of the good stuff is. There is a scene when Cindy's daughter, they go over to her house, and it's when I think it's the first introduction to her, and she looks like Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween, and she's pouring loads of drinks, and she's got this stash of all this alcohol behind her. She makes a reference to Scary Movie. I can't remember exactly what she says, but she says, you know, oh, it hasn't been good since 2. It's like,
how dare you?
How fucking dare you? And it's not the first time. Like later on in the film, the Wayans come into it, and Anthony Anderson's in it, and Shaq's in it, and they have this big sort of meta joke about, oh, you know, fuck you guys for doing more than the first 2 films, and you know they were terrible anyway. And it's like, oh brother, you need to 3 settle down.
Is definitely better than 2. I will die on that hill, and probably for me even 4 is better than 2. So
and there's certainly an argument to be made, and like this one in particular is way worse than both of them. So that kind of annoyed me. It's like, get off your high horse. It's like you're trying to create revisionist history, and you're trying to make us think that Scary Movie 3 wasn't amazing, but we won't believe you.
Craig Mazin wrote that, you know. Put Craig Mazin's name out of your fucking mouth.
Chernobyl was an afterthought. He wrote that in the meantime, whilst he'd spent years working on the script for Scary Movie 3. The film doesn't even understand its own like history sometimes as well. Like when they do the reveal of the 4 killers, and they reveal it's Anthony Anderson, and Cindy goes, oh my god, it's Anthony Anderson. And I'm thinking, no, it's Mahalik. It's Mahalik. He's the character, you know, that's his character's name from 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't know him as Anthony Anderson in this world. It's like,
I was like, did I forget his name? Like, but I've just seen these movies. So.
No, they forget his name. And obviously they do the whole like, oh, is it going to be Kevin Hart under there? And obviously it's a shame they couldn't get him, but they would have just called him Kevin Hart anyway. They wouldn't have called him.
By
CJ.
the way, Kevin, you are doing Jumanji sequels, but you're not doing this. shame on you.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know. It's I as I said, and we're getting into it. So I like the ending. It
Yeah.
made me laugh, and not because it's good necessarily. I think it's a very strange and annoyingly self-indulgent ending. Like you mentioned, the fact that they referenced the actor's name and not the character's name is a bit like self-indulgent in my
Yeah,
opinion.
100%.
But I liked it because in my head, it kind of justified me rewatching all the scary movies. Because it's a bunch of references strung together to previous films and characters. People coming back. Shock is there for some reason. They do the Kevin Hart gag, and I like this ending, but it's a bad ending. Because anyone who hasn't seen the other movies in a while, which is most people, is not gonna understand why this should be funny. It did make me laugh how meta they decided to go with it, and how they're like, fuck the new generation. This is our franchise, which I thought, as you mentioned, should have been kind of like the through line instead of just like a throwaway gag at the end. It should have been like the instead of like the two generations working together, it should have been like almost kind of like a two teams like fighting against each other for like screen time, and
Yeah.
like, oh, you're stealing the spotlight from this character, how dare you, and you can comment on this legacy sequel trend that has been plaguing Hollywood since 2015.
Yeah, and again, they get the idea because they kind of do that with Cindy and her daughter. Like, she's about to do the "What are you waiting for?" and Cindy's like, "No,
Yeah,
no, no,
I
let
love
me
it.
let me do it." And so they get that. Talking about the ending, there was a good potential to, like, I like the idea of doing a John Wick
Oh my god, I
parody
forgot
with
about that.
Cindy at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's quite a good idea because it's like, it comes full circle. In Scary Movie 1, she goes back and she fights Ghostface in a Matrix style. And I guess the modern day version of the
It's John
Matrix
Wick, yeah.
is like John Wick, I guess, and it's even got Keanu Reeves in it. So it all makes sense. Cindy comes back, but this felt really cheap. The choreography was bad in this fight scene in the house. It was really badly, like, dimly lit,
Yeah.
so you couldn't see much of what's
On
going
purpose.
And on purpose. But they have a cutaway gag where Cindy's watching the stunt lady, and she's like, "Wow, this stunt lady's
I
really
like that.
awesome."
But it should have been
The
more
fight scene,
like,
the fight scene was actually really shit
Yeah.
though, and it was not very good. It's like, if you're gonna go all in on that big finale, then have that be some, like, all throughout the house, like, crazy fight scene with guns and go fully John Wick with it. When I was talking about how the Scream reboot legacy sort of element of the story could have really worked, and they nailed it right at the very end when all the legacy characters decide to kill the new characters, and they're burning them in the house, and Cindy's walking out, and they're like, "Wait, aren't they our children?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, whatever."
Fuck 'em.
And they just continue walking away. Yeah, it was like, oh, cool, because, like, everybody hates that element, I guess, of, like, the original annoying characters replacing legacy characters into a poor degree. So I thought that worked quite well.
You know what? And I think we're almost done with this review. We're talking about this movie too much, but like the Brenda's daughter, the train scene that was also featured in the trailer. Like when they do the pronoun gag, like the joke. Oh, I don't call me her. I'm a they, and that's
Oh God.
that's such an old and unfunny thing to play with. They could have done so much more. This movie is insanely offensive, but then they do this very mild joke. And most of the stuff that they do that is kind of like, I guess, political is like the racial stuff, but I don't know, like it doesn't read to me as funny most of the time. So
No. And a lot of the kind of jokes and references they make are so out of date because the landscape of film and culture and media has changed so much from when the days of Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3 were coming out.
yeah.
You cannot have a scene where you parody Get Out.
Oh, yeah.
In a large part they do a Get Out parody, but then also you have Shorty and other characters being like, "Oh, the black guy dies in the first in the horror movie," or it's like,
Yeah.
"I'm doing that because we're gonna die first," or whatever. And it's like, well, actually, that is not a trope anymore in horror movies. It hasn't been a trope for a long time. You know, you're referencing Get Out, which is a film where, you know, it's the opposite of that, I guess, happens.
But
So it feels
but
you're trying 2000s humor on, you know, when we're so beyond that.
yeah, we are. But speaking of Get Out, one last thing that actually made me chuckle in the theater during that parody sequence is Shorty is smoking outside. By the way, Shorty, smoking weed is not funny anymore. It's legal in United States, whatever, you know, like everyone smokes weed, whatever. Yeah, Shorty is smoking outside and he sees someone running towards him, and it's the classic scene from Get Out with the guy, you know, running laps around the house.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like a very fit naked guy, and you're like with the hat, and it's like it's shot exactly like Get Out, and then Ray is running is running after him. He's like, come here, come here. I found that really funny.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that was good. That was good.
Yeah, you see,
Some little bright spots here, and like we said, with all of them, you know, when you throw 100 gags at the wall, some of them are going to hit, and they clearly had some good ideas here with certain movies of how to parry them, like Get Out and Weapons and The Substance. But when it came to the overall like plot and the through line parody, it was all over the place in this one. And yeah, it's I suppose we'll get to our final verdicts. We've rated all the other ones, and does this fall exactly where you thought it did in your rankings?
You've been editing the Scary Movie 5 review. Do you remember? Can you tell me what grade I gave that?
You gave it a 1.
Okay.
You gave it a 1. I gave it like a 3.5, I think.
Okay, so I think this deserves a 4, maybe.
Okay, just below average, you'd say. That's
Yeah.
potentially being quite generous on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like we actually, you know, doing the review, we have mentioned quite a few things that made us laugh. So, you know, like for a movie like this, it's already kind of a success to be able to make you laugh like 5 to 10 times.
Yeah, I agree. I think if, you know, even the worst comedic movies, you know, narratively, character-wise, whatever, if it gives you like a bunch of like some laughs, then there is still value to it, which is why I gave 5 some points. And this like lies exactly on that one. Like, I hated the majority of the movie, and it gave me a few chuckles here and there. So I give this one a 3.5 as well. This like is the quality of that last one.
You just want to
And,
go
it's a
lower
shame.
than me. Like you have this. I don't know what you're trying to do. You're trying to upstage me. You know, like with the negative fucking. What are you doing, man? 3.5.
You gave Scary Movie 5 a 1.
That's fair.
It's the lowest score ever. And when you think of the Wayans coming back, like the original sort of creators, you think, oh, maybe there'll be some heart to it or some creative desire to tell some specific parodies. But this felt like a cynical studio cash grab completely.
It really did, yeah.